All right, I want to take our basic oscillator and start turning it into a simple additive synth that has ADSR envelope for both partials and has pitch control. And eventually we're going to make that into a polyphonic additive synthesizer. So first thing I'm going to do is taking this basic audio MIDI um, patch using one oscillator and using line functions for um, envelope, and I'm going to start turning it into a analog synth. So to make sure that I have my MIDI keyboard turned on, and that should allow me to do some things with this. Good. Okay. So first thing I want to do is get in here and take some things out. Don't need the K slider. Can leave the envelope functions for now. First part I'm going to work on is making selectable oscillator types. So having different elemental waveforms in our synth. So let's move the envelope portion over here. Let's get some things up out of the way. And work with this. So can get rid of the portamento and line. And because I want to do some things later that allow me to adjust pitch, I'm going to start working with pitch in the audio at an audio rate. So I'm going to use the sig object, which is just one choice that I have converting pitch or a control rate signal to an audio rate signal. And I'm going to have that go into a MIDI to frequency signal rate converter, and that's going to become my pitch. So if I turn on and so still sort of the basics, but now what I want to do is add in the multiple oscillators. So to do that, let's go. We can go put these in any order, but let's put in a cycle for a sine tone. Triangle or tri for triangle. So all these are anti-aliased oscillators. Rect. I'm going to give it a frequency argument, even though it's going to get ignored, but just so I can give it the specification for square wave, because rect can be any type of pulse wave. You can affect the duty cycle. And then my saw here at the on the right. So then frequency is going to go into all of these. I'm going to hold down my shift key so I can do that. And what I need now is what's called a selector. It's an audio rate switch. It switches between multiple inputs to one output. It's in the gate switch family. So I need to tell how many inputs. I've got 4. And you'll see that it has 5 inlets. So like all the gate switches, the first inlet's a control. Tells what's going to get passed along. And kind of make this go out or in. Then the selector is going to come to my scaling function. Let's move it over. So I need something that's going to let me select inputs. I'm going to use a U menu. Reason being it takes less space, and I can pick, in a tab, I can pick what I want. I need to go over here and edit what's in the menu. And I'm going to say select oscillator type, comma, and then go through the order of my oscillators: sine, triangle, square, and saw. Make this a little bit larger. Put this up here. Now what I'm going to use is the left outlet, which gives me the index of the item that I've selected. Because that's what selector is expecting. So now if I select sine, triangle, square, and saw. Right? So that gives me my selectable types. If I go back to the first choice, 0, none of them pass through. It's off. So I'm going to leave it on square for now. And then what I want to be able to do is to encapsulate this into a subpatcher so it doesn't take as much space. What I'm going to do is leave this out of the patch, but I want the oscillators, the selector, and I'm going to go ahead and have the multiplication for scaling the amplitude, but the amplitude is going to sit outside the subpatcher. So I can take this and I should have an input from the menu, an input from M to F, and the input from the envelope that are going to be forming inlets. I'm going to go up here into Edit, Encapsulate, and it's kind of got things mixed up a little bit, but that's okay. I can fix this, for at least from the way I want. I'm going to call this patcher oscillators. And I'm going to, on my patch, open it up. So I'm going to move my envelope over here. So this is frequency input, this is my oscillator type, this is my envelope that's coming in. And I'm going to label these things now. Use the hints. So oscillator selection is an integer. Frequency is a signal. And envelope is also a signal. And then what comes out is my oscillator output, which is a signal. So I can close that, and now things have kind of fixed themselves back over here. So my oscillator type, my envelope's coming over here. I can get rid of the signal meter for now because I don't really need to see that either. And it should be. I don't don't think I've selected anything here. There. Since I encapsulated, the selector lost what its most recent choice had been. So I just reselected it, and all that works now. So then the next thing I want to do is simplify this patch a little bit with an ADSR envelope. And the ADSR envelope will replace this kind of stuff that's going in. So I'm going to do this in a slightly different way. In fact, I'm just going to wipe all this out for now. So I need an ADSR. I'll put that down here at the bottom. And I'll give it some initial arguments, like let's say attack of 5 milliseconds, 100 millisecond decay, and maybe a 0.4 sustaining level. And then let's have a 500 millisecond release. And that's going to go in there. Okay, so kind of cleaning up this patch a bit. What's going to happen now is I'm going to working over here, and excuse me, I need on velocity, off velocity, and I need anything non-zero will turn the ADSR on. It needs to be between 0 and 1 in a kind of amplitude way, amplitude range, and it will scale the maximum values. 0 will turn it off. So non-zero turns it on, 0 turns it off. So I'm going to do a little bit different over here in my way of working this. Instead of selecting 0, I'm going to use a split object. And I'm going to say look for the range 1 to 127. Now what this does is anything between the range of 1 to 127 inclusive is going to come out the left. So I can put an integer here. Velocity, come over here. And if I play on the keyboard, what's going to come out the right is always going to be 0. You just can't tell. Bang. When I release the key. So 0 doesn't fall within the range of 1 to 127. I'm going to slide this over here a ways. I'm going to use this, convert it to a dB range, so I get better keyboard scaling, amplitude scaling from key velocity. So I'm going to scale from 0 to 127. Even though I don't get 0 in this, that's the range. 0 to 127 will be minus 45 to 6 using decimal points, floating points for the target values to be scaled to. And let's see, 0, 6 is not what I want. I want 0. That's unity. So 0 is an amplitude of 1. That's what that will correspond to. Let's take a look at the floating point output. So if I do, can't quite get 127 on my keyboard, but that's a minus 0.354, but much softer ranges. We'll scale down in dB. And I'm going to convert that dB to amplitude. And that's going to go into trigger my envelope. Okay. Then the release velocity, I'm just going to put into this number box. So when I release the key, the 0 will pass through, and that will turn the envelope off. So maybe I'll do it actually. Just come straight in. Actually, I really don't have to worry about this. I think I'm just going to patch it into here. So simplifying an old patch here. Now if I go back here, on, and release. All right, and what I can do for all of this is actually maybe encapsulate this, but I'll think about that a little bit. I'll do everything here for a while out here. Kind of separate the two things out. And let's see, what can I encapsulate? Going to keep all this. So I'm going to encapsulate all of this. So this is everything up that calculates my frequency and everything that calculates my velocity, amplitude to velocity. Edit, encapsulate. And let's call that my node input. And so now, all right, so that's working pretty well. Now there's some more things I can do to work this up, but I think what I want to do next, and I want to stop this one, and I'm going to pick back up with some more pitch modulation, things that I can do to adjust pitch. So I'll close this one off for now, and I'll start up another video.